Senate's Ethics Subcommittee now deciding to wait to deal with Senator Nicole Mitchell's ethics complaint.
That move was made last night as Republican members changed their decision after a closed-doors meeting. This comes after weeks of Republican motions on the Senate floor to act swiftly on Mitchell's complaint. The embattled DFL state senator from Woodbury is facing charges of first-degree felony burglary after allegedly breaking into her stepmother's Detroit Lakes home last month.
Valley News Team's Quinn Gorham explaining this morning what exactly happened in last night's hearing.
The rules require members of the Minnesota Senate to adhere to the highest standard of ethical conduct and abide by the Minnesota Constitution and state law.
Senator Nicole Mitchell, facing criminal charges for an alleged break-in, received a hearing from the Senate Ethics Committee Tuesday night. The committee tasked with deciding whether Mitchell had broke Senate rules in her alleged conduct.
We are here today to determine if a member of our body violated the rules of our body, if they violated the rules of the Minnesota State Senate.
Republicans who filed the complaint asserted that the senator had broke Senate rules by engaging in illegal activity.
Senator Nicole Mitchell's actions are a clear violation of Senate rules and leave the Minnesota Senate under a cloud of distrust.
The senator from Woodbury appeared at Tuesday's hearing but did not speak a word. Instead, her lawyers spoke on her behalf, providing the same standard answer repeatedly when questioned.
Or can you confirm why she may have taken that action?
Senator Mitchell pleads the Fifth Amendment.
The strategy from her attorneys wasn't without merit. Mitchell's counsel asserted that there couldn't be a proper conclusion while the criminal proceedings were still underway. They say any sort of decision would require testimony from the senator, something she can't do without sacrificing her constitutional rights.
And if we'd answered all those questions that were asked, that would have undermined Senator Mitchell's ability to get due process in the criminal case.
The committee opted to head into an executive committee meeting, which means they'll meet outside the public forum until an agreement is reached. Reporting in St. Paul, I'm Quinn Gorham.
As it stands currently, the senator will be permitted to vote in remaining floor votes for the time being.